To our Monday Soul Deliciousness. So this one at 4:30 is my Soul Deliciousness that I do that is more focused on teaching you how to keep yourself balanced and healed and in this beautiful centered mindset. And today's topic is I really want to dive into talking about how our energy overlaps because it is pretty crazy when you get into the depths of it. So, for those of you that are new, welcome. I'm streaming this on more of my pages than I normally do because I was kind of thinking to myself, like, why am I not streaming this to my own page on Facebook? So you may be seeing this. I usually do it only in my group. So if you are seeing this outside of my group, just letting you know if this stuff is resonating with you and you want to get more, then I super encourage you to, in the description, I have put the link to my group. And you may be live from that group, but it is the Feeling Lost to Get Your Balance Back. You'll want to hop into there. I do lots of resources. There's a guide section, but that's kind of my little hub go-to. So we're going to talk about how our energies overlap. So first of all, this is talked about a lot. And if you are just joining, you'll know that when I go into topics, I like to deep dive. I'm not really good at idle chit chat, and I'm not really good at idle thinking either. So we get into topics a little above and beyond maybe what you are accustomed to as far as people talking about this subject because I see it all the time. Oh, I absorb people's energy. Okay, what exactly does that mean, or what exactly is going on there is where I want to go with this one. So, first of all, you're definitely not imagining it. It is very much a real thing. And so, getting into the very basics of it, our bodies have chakras, which are just like organs. They are the spots in our body that create an energy. And our body also has meridians, and that is how the energy from our chakras and our body flow throughout our system. So I like to think of the chakras, just to make it simple. I like to think of the chakras as like the organs, and the meridians as like the veins for the body, and how everything is flowing through those. So you also have probably heard of the word aura. Our aura is this beautiful energy that is around our body. And there's actually different layers to your aura. There is not just one aura layer. So you can have, sometimes when I'm working on clients, actually find energies that are trapped in a specific aura layer. And when I look at those a little closer, a lot of times they are from someone almost being able to process fully an emotion, and then it kind of gets stuck and hangs out in those layers. But you also, this is the part of your energy that really overlaps with other people as well. Are these different layers of your energy system? So, um, that's the energy coming into contact with another person, and you have felt it before. You've gone into a room and you're like, oh, that person's energy kind of feels ick. Or maybe you're in a room with someone and their energy of that person feels really good. That's just the interaction of their energy and your energy. So I'm going to give you this really cool example, but also can be an example where you're like, wait a minute. It's definitely one of those, like, you think about it for a second and then you're like, word, right? Okay. So we're going to talk about this one that is your throat chakra. So you have a throat chakra. It's obvious where it sounds like it is. It's your throat. So your throat chakra is responsible for lots of stuff, but just to simplify for this example, it's your center for communication. which makes sense, but it's also the center for all kinds of communication, not just verbal communication. So we're going to go now into this deep dive. So um, I'm going to make this really educational, but it will also apply to those of you that already know these systems. But even if you don't, it's going to make complete sense. So, okay, your throat chakra. Now, when we dive even further into the chakras, some of your chakras are what I like to just, you can refer to them as they're either active or they're inactive. This is part of your human design. And you've probably been seeing me post a lot about it because I'm so excited to start teaching human design. It is absolutely amazing. So, if your throat chakra is one of your chakras that is considered to be an active chakra, then you are the type of person that expresses yourself. Now, you express yourself depending on what other chakra is connected to your throat chakra. So let's say that if I have part of my mind um, or my chakra that is, my mind is connected to my throat chakra, then I'm going to do what? Speak my mind. Or you hear people say, you just speak your mind. Now, if it is connected to an emotion chakra, then when I'm speaking or communicating, emotion is coming from that. Or your heart chakra, you're communicating from the desires of your heart. So, depending on which connection you have with that throat chakra, if your throat chakra is active, will be a lot of how you express yourself. Now, we're going to go even a little bit deeper. And this is where we get into energies overlapping and you absorbing things from other people. So, one of the things that I love about human design is that it teaches us or allows us to see what our blueprint is so that we are more aware of the types of things that we are prone to doing, or basically, it's the reason behind why you do certain things. Now, when we understand that we do certain things, then we can prevent ourselves from allowing others to, in this instance, you're going to see, take advantage of the fact that we have a very active throat chakra. So I happen to be one of those people that has an active throat chakra. So I don't think that's surprising to anyone that knows me. I am very expressive. I have no issues holding back. In fact, one of my gates or one of my channels that's active is also the one where I will be in full blown conversation with people and something will just come up and I will absolutely derail the conversation into something else. And I do this constantly. And the crazy thing about it is before I dove into my own human design, I was like, oh, that's just something stupid that I do. And then I realized, no, that is a divine intricate part of my system that I do that. And there's a reason behind the madness. And so, but if you are around someone whose throat chakra is not active, they still have a desire to express themselves. So, guess what they do? They unknowingly use a person with an active throat chakra to express themselves. So, how does this happen exactly? Well, when you get around that person, so for this example, let's say that I'm the one with the active throat chakra and I am around a person comes into the room and their throat chakra is not active. Well, so all this energy exchange is going on without us even knowing it. Like cognitively, if you're a sensitive person, you may feel it, but cognitively, you have no idea what's happening. So this person comes into the room and their energy starts to overlap with mine. And that person subconsciously knows their energy center is like, oh, I'm around a person with an active throat chakra. So let me just go ahead and use them to express myself. So the way that they do that is the person with the deactive throat chakra, who you think wouldn't be talking, now suddenly feels really comfortable chatting up a storm. And so they just start blah, 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 blah. They're absolutely dumping out everything. Now, if you're a person with an active throat chakra, you also might be having a specific another part of your energy system that's really irritated by this. But that person will talk endlessly. And the reason for this is that energy overlap. They're trying to get you to pick up on stuff that they think is important in hopes that you will regurgitate that out somewhere else. In a way, it's almost like those irritating burr plants, right? That like the burrs stick to you. So you'll take them somewhere else and drop them off so that plant will grow. Um, but this is how some people use the energy of other people, is because now if someone's chatting into my ear, like let's say that they have a really big opinion about something, right? The hope is that I will then use my ability to communicate to go speak that opinion to someone else. Okay. So that is one really good example of how our energies overlap and how other people's energies are doing way more to affect you than they actually think they are. So, what do we do? Well, knowing that another person energy overlapping yours in this specific situation with like the throat chakra example, then if I am a person with an active throat chakra, like I understand now. And so I recognize what's happening. And therefore, I can prevent this by realizing that, oh, if there is a person around that is doing this and I notice it, instead of absorbing that, right, I can create a boundary, a healthy boundary, a happy boundary, a kind boundary. It doesn't mean I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to need you to stop talking because I'm absorbing your energy. So stop talking because I know what you're doing here. Your subconscious has got a hidden agenda and you want me to take all this information and then somehow, spout it out to the world. Instead, right, I just understand and know. So I might say something like, oh, hey, it's great talking with you. I have to go hop on a Zoom call or whatever, right? Like I know this is happening. So I'm going to prevent myself from absorbing that energy because knowledge is power. And I love this phrase. You don't know what you don't know. It's something that's stuck with me and became a beautiful like belief, is that you don't know what you don't know. And one of my instructors, when I was going through college, the first of like 8 times, is actually like the second or third time, when I was becoming a pilot, I remember my instructor, he said that you don't know what you don't know. And I loved that. And it really stuck with me because, in essence, how do you know that you need to know something if you've never been taught and you don't know what you don't know? And so that is all about why I love really, really diving into systems. I don't like to just, you can cruise around the internet. You can find thousands of articles that are going to tell you this is what the throat chakra is, this is the color, this is the symbol, this is what it's responsible for. If you get into some pages, they're going to go, you might get lucky and you run across somebody's article that tells you, oh, it's got specific connections to certain organs, it's got specific connections to certain meridians, it's got a time of the day that it's associated with, all kinds of stuff like that. But this is where I really like to go, is tell me more. Like, what does this and how does this affect me? And how am I being affected by my throat chakra and other people, right? And that's why I love the concepts that we really dive into and why I created the Soul Centered Academy. So this all started out from me going through my own personal issues in life, my own personal traumas from losing my spouse and having my daughter pass away, and just feeling like traditional therapy and medication just was not doing it for me. And I ran across energy stuff, but then I was like, oh, yeah, I don't really want to get into that because it doesn't really follow the traditional cultural church beliefs that I was taught. And oh, I went to school, and if it's not being taught by a professor in a classroom that I'm paying $5,000 for, it's probably not true. Those are all just negative core beliefs that we get taught. And so we get all these agreements in our head that, one, people without PhDs don't know anything. Two, everything that I was taught in church has to be true. all of this stuff creates these filters. So then when you receive information, it goes through the filters, and then your brain decides whether or not to keep it or throw it out with the trash. And so thank goodness I ran across something that had some data behind it. And so I was like, ooh, maybe this stuff really is real and cool. And as I started looking at different studies that showed that like energy really was a real thing, I got really involved with, wow, my body really isn't physical first, which is what I always thought. Oh, if I get a cold, what am I going to do? I'm going to treat the symptoms, the physical, the physical, the physical. Oh, my leg hurts. What am I going to do? I'm going to treat my leg, my physical, physical. When in reality, it's all this energy and things that are going on the energy side of you that's creating the physical problems, not the other way around. But we do it backwards. And that's why we run around as miserable human beings in pain and dealing with all this emotional garbage, is because we don't get to the root cause of the problem. And that's what this is all about. That's why I'm here. That has become my passion, is to teach people so you can get to a better space where you are balanced and whole. In fact, it was kind of interesting because in my own journey, a minute ago, I came across something. I was looking at something that I use for my business. And I had this like little thought, and I was like, huh, this is interesting. When I first started doing social media and when I first started my platform, it was after my daughter passed away. I really didn't even know what I was going after. I just was trying to somehow heal the emotional trauma. And I thought sharing about my journey would would be helpful. And it was. But I was thinking about when I first started my platform, and I was like asking people, hey, what video editing software are you using? And I remember thinking back, like while I was asking other people what they were using, I wasn't like so on board with sharing it with anyone else, which I now realize is actually some karma energy of not being willing to give, especially if I'm so open to taking that information from other people. And I look back now and see that like progression. And as I was looking at something that I was using today, I realized that I was like, oh, hey, I was using this really amazing app, and that I thought, this is really cool. I noticed like a spiritual different resonating thing with like, wow, I'm so willing to share things that I'm using, because I realize now that the more people that I can help on their own journey or help get to a higher vibrational space, it's a win for everyone. And that's what I want for you. I want you to get to those spaces where you're like, wow, this is what enlightenment feels like. This is what real forgiveness feels like. This is what it really means to share with other people. Like I no longer have that like little cruddy underlying thing of, ooh, I mean, you can say it all day. I want everyone to be successful. But you have this little gnawing thing that's like, ooh, I don't want anyone to be more successful than me, though. Like you get rid of that. You clear all that out. You're like, no, here, take what I have. Because you realize that when we help other people, it's helping everyone. It's this higher level state of energy consciousness that if we all could get to this level, the world would be this beautiful, amazing place where we would be free from all these negative emotions. And so it's quite an amazing process. And that's why I'm here, is to help you with that. Okay, so super sauce. I want to leave you with the fact that if you do want to know more, if you really want to dive into your own soul blueprint, then I really, really invite you to hop into my human design course. You can see down in the description, you'll see a link to my courses. You're just looking for Human Design 101. Now, here's the thing. This is a beta group. So people are like, what does that mean? Right? Because I think beta group, I think of a beta fish. So a beta group means that you're part of me creating and launching the group. So sometimes people will be like, well, how many courses are there? And I will say, I don't know, Fran, because I haven't completely developed it yet. And I like to go with the flow of the group, because the group is the feedback, right? I'm all about like, hey, I know it. So sometimes it's hard to help people when you already know it. Like you don't, like we kind of go back to the you don't know what you don't know, right? So as I'm developing the course, it's great to get feedback and have someone might come up and say, hey, I want you to talk a little bit more about this. It didn't quite make complete sense. And then that's probably that they're not the only one in the group, right? So then I might create an extra video that's like, hey, here's a supplemental video to explain channels more because let's go back and talk more about the details about that. So that's what the beta group is all about. And then as I go, I record them so that the next set of people that take the courses, their courses are all recorded and they just log in, right? And then they can see all of them at once. And if they wanted to watch them over, like a Netflix binge, they could watch them all in one night if they wanted to. Whereas with the beta group, we're doing it as we go along. Like I'm creating the course content with your inputs, with your feedback. So I don't want to say that it's so much more interactive, but it is more interactive. Not that I'm not interactive with the people that take my stuff after it's been recorded, because that's just not how I roll. I'm always interactive with my groups, and I want them to know that like I'm here for you all the time if you want to reach out and you have a question. But it is more interactive along the sides of how I'm creating and the content that I'm creating. And this is just what I love to do. I have a master's degree in education and I love creating curriculum. So it's right up my alley and I super jive with it. And that is why we created the Soul Centered Academy. So there you go. All right. I will be on again in approximately about an hour to talk about tomatoes and time techniques. I love tomatoes and time techniques, mostly because I just love, being whimsical. But there is a really cool technique that is associated with tomatoes, and I'm going to show you what that is. So you can hop on again. Anyways, I go back to the beta group really quickly. It's only $67, and that's because it is a beta group. So yes, there are other similar courses that are upwards of, I don't know, I've seen them. Some of them are like over $1,000. So if you want to hop in, this is like your one chance to get it for a crazy price of $67. So there you go. All right, guys, I will see you in about an hour. So enjoy your soul deliciousness. If you want to join me again, go get yourself a, fantastic, like warm cup of hot cocoa or whatever floats your boat. And I will see you again soon.